The Get On Living Safely campaign is sponsoring this podcast to remind you to keep your spending in the community. Supporting local businesses keeps food on the table for our friends and neighbors. Follow them on social media and learn more at getonlivingsafely.com. Today we chatted with Vicki Markussen of Engage Greater La Crosse. We chat early beginnings, discuss her experience being a leader in the local business community, her new venture, Engage Greater La Crosse, and also explore the new project, Get On Living Safely, that champions community over convenience. Plus, we talk about her recently announced run for mayor of La Crosse. You can find more conversations on our website, lacrosselocal.com. I'm Amy.
And I'm Brent.
And this is La Crosse Local.
My name is Vicki Markussen. I was born in West Dallas, which is a suburb of Milwaukee. And how did I get into business advocacy? It's interesting because I don't necessarily consider it that. I started out with a degree in journalism, moved here to La Crosse, and I was covering a story about homeowners who had a contractor who hadn't paid his subs, and they had a bunch of construction liens placed on them. And it made me very familiar with the construction process. And the next thing I knew was the La Crosse Area Builders Association had a job opening, and I was about to get married and knew I would be staying in La Crosse and couldn't keep doing weekends and fill-in anchoring like I was doing because La Crosse is different and has very stable anchors. And so I went and worked for the Builders Association, went to work for Seven Rivers Alliance, which is regional economic development, and then went over to the chamber. And then just recently with Engage Greater La Crosse, I went back to my journalism roots, but telling some of the stories of our community. So that's the winding path that I took. But I would say I have served the business community in many capacities, I would say. Not just advocacy, but events and being the voice for whatever industry I represented.
So you kind of mentioned it there. Engage Greater La Crosse is a new endeavor for you. What exactly is it?
It is going and telling the stories of our community. It's the big ideas, the bold endeavors, the inspirational leadership, the uplifting stories. It's getting to know your friends and neighbors, and when you do that, you're much more likely to get engaged in the community.
So you kind of just referenced it there. You also state on the site, Engage La Crosse is a free platform to tell our community stories. What specific stories have you been sharing recently?
Well, it's interesting because I started sharing stories of local small business owners, and I also have some more data-packed stories, things like when Office Depot, when they are giving back to the community, what is the tax, their property taxes, how do those get applied? Because a lot of people don't realize that commercial businesses pay property taxes and it pays money into schools. And so I was using that as an example of this is why even a big box store like Office Depot matters, because of the amount of money that they pay in property taxes and how that helps our community. And I started telling smaller business stories, and I also started telling some feel-good stories. So there's a story in there about Delaney Heller and how she packed 100 turkey dinners with a lot of volunteers and sent those out to the community. It's telling the stories of all of the amazing things that make our community just a unique community, very giving community, have us all take pride in our community and really get to know our friends and neighbors that causes us to rally around some of these efforts and do amazing things out in our community.
Was Engage Greater La Crosse, was that in sort of reaction to COVID, or is this something that was always kind of planned that just happened to fall within this last 10 months?
How I got the idea for it was I was involved in COVID in terms of getting information out to businesses. And the reaction that I received from businesses was, this is our lighthouse. We're trying to find our way, and the information that you are giving us, Vicki, at the Chamber is helping guide us. And it really sparked in me that journalism piece that I always loved, which is I can be a resource. I can give people information that they need. And at the same time, this community is doing so many amazing things that telling those stories out is very rewarding for me. And so I'm really having a blast. I'm back to my journalism roots, the things that fuel me. I'm getting out and talking to people, which also fuels me. And so I'm enjoying the endeavor that I have. A side note, as I started telling these stories, I was approached by the North La Crosse Business Association saying, we need people to understand our small businesses in this community and why it's really important to support local. And so I have a contract with the Get On Living Safely, the campaign that was built out of the North La Crosse Business Association, to tell some of these stories during COVID, because the response has been incredible. So this helps fuel me and my belief in my business, Engage Greater La Crosse, because a business like Orange Thumb that is out in West Salem, tiny shop on Leonard Street, it is our number one video. It had 600 people view it, all kinds of engagement. Our people in our community, our friends and neighbors want to know about places like this. They just don't have the opportunity to find them. And so the response has been absolutely incredible. And so it's connecting our people with our businesses in new ways.
So speaking about Get On Living Safely, how does the average person get involved in that? I know this has been, upside down for everybody the last 10 months. How can someone just kind of jump in a little bit, think about how they spend their money to affect local business?
So let me explain the Get On Living Safely campaign a little bit better. The North La Crosse Business Association went to businesses that were doing well in our community and said, our small businesses need help. We have to get a campaign out there to help fuel supporting local and the understanding of how that impacts us all. And they raised about $70,000, and they then are telling these stories. So very heavy social media presence. It's telling those stories that I'm producing. It's also sharing out great things that are happening in the business community. If somebody posts, hey, here's what we're doing to keep you safe, we pass that on. But peeling this all the way back to the main principle, which is supporting local, that's supporting our friends and our neighbors and putting food on tables and presents under trees. And the idea behind it is rallying behind local. So for the average person, it's making sure that you're doing takeout if that's what you're comfortable with. It's making sure you're aware of these small businesses that really need help. Online shopping is killing our local stores, and it's about people tipping well. I've heard tipping started out great, and now people aren't tipping like they used to, and a lot of our servers are hurting as a result. So it's being aware. It's being aware of where are our friends and neighbors hurting and how do we help. And the people that are hurting are our servers, and they're working in hotels, and they're working in entertainment places that are closed, bowling alleys and movie theaters. So it's being kind, it's being conscious, and it's about trying to buy from as local as you possibly can, because that's where the jobs are.
Talking to Nick Roush on episode 104, he owns Root Down Yoga, Roush Rentals. He's working with you with Get On Living Safely. He even referenced how the community of La Crosse is spending almost the exact same amount of money, only instead of spending it in La Crosse, they're spending it online. It was a really surprising comment that I didn't realize that was happening.
Yes, it's devastating. So if you look at the amount of money being spent on retail, it is actually higher than it has been. But if you talk to local retailers, they are down significantly. So the only place people can be buying is online. And that's the interesting thing. There's a little complexity to that I'm sure Nick didn't get into. There was a change in the laws from a while ago that where the buyer is where the sales tax gets paid. So what that means is someone living in La Crosse County gets the county version of the sales tax. And that matters because if that law hadn't changed, we would be in a world of hurt right now, because it would be going to the North Dakotas, it would be going in other places. But the point is, we are getting saved by that law change, but we need to be buying local, because that causes the dollars to circulate almost 3 times higher than if you were to buy from a company that has a national branch to it or a national affiliation.
Wow.
It's very important to buy local. That's what supports our accountants. That's what supports our local suppliers. That feeds a whole local industry of individuals that, again, just put jobs in our area.
Okay, so, you have Engage Greater La Crosse, we have the Get On Living Safely campaign, and it just so happens you're also running for mayor of La Crosse. Why is that?
I have lived in La Crosse for 25 years. I believe in La Crosse. I moved here. This is the longest I have lived anywhere. And I see the opportunities that are ahead of us. I definitely see the challenges. We're going to have some very challenging economic components in 2021. And I see where my past history is going to be able to lead us through that and beyond. And to me, I am tired of La Crosse being this hidden gem. We need to let it shine. We need to get the talent here that we need. We need to grow. We need to be looking at how do we grow our property tax base, and we need to take care of our people while we do that. And I see that I have the qualifications to lead us through.
Awesome. So if people want to find out more about you, Engage Greater La Crosse, goals, what's the best avenue to send them to?
Sure. So Engage Greater La Crosse is simply that website, engagegreaterlacrosse.org. And Get On Living Safely is getonlivingsafely.com. And both of them have, of course, Facebook and Instagram presence. So between social media and website, you can learn more.
La Crosse Local Podcast is a production of River Travel Media. Do you have an interview idea you would like to share with us? Message us on Facebook at La Crosse Locals. Subscribe to the La Crosse Local Podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you like us, rate us 5 stars. We thank you for it.